Hi all. Paul's also pointed out something about my quadruple pawn game, which was very rare. But apparently Alexander Alekhine had a game with quadruple pawns, which someone had mentioned on YouTube as well. And it was against a guy called Nen Arakov. Now Nen Arakov, if we go to chessgames.com and put Alekhine versus Nen Arakov, we see that actually they tied 3-3. Nen Arakov, he wasn't a bad player, he was a Moscow champion apparently. If we go to his page at chessgames.com, it says he was awarded the IM title in 1950, a Moscow champion in 1900, 1908 and 1924. So it's a very good player. I thought we could have a quick look at that game. Okay. Do you want to say anything about the game, Paul, initially? Or?
Well, it's just interesting because it's a very rare example of quadrupled pawns, which have occurred very few times in the whole history of serious chess.
But my game was just a bullet thing, really. In bullet, if you're playing hundreds of games, something like that's going to happen, isn't it, in bullet?
I've never had quadrupled pawns in my life, as far as I'm aware.
Not even blitz?
Not in any sort of game.
Okay. Well, so in this game, 1907, so they had a 3-3 score. He wasn't a bad player, this guy, with the black pieces. And Alekhine wasn't like Capablanca, was he, in terms of he had his own evolution of style. Capablanca seemed to be a genius straight off the bat, didn't he? But Alekhine had to work on his game.
Yeah. I think Alekhine would have been a teenager at this time.
Right.
I'm not sure what year he was born.
Yeah.
Was it 1892? I could be making that up.
But he was still pretty good because, you know, it wasn't as if he lost to a complete,
Oh no, he was developing. He was on his way.
Yeah. So as black, well, let's take the black perspective. So e6, very solid, unassuming. c6, Slav defense kind of thing, and now like Dutch stone wall against this system, which I think is quite effective here, isn't it? Because White hasn't developed that bishop yet.
It's only effective in this position because White's played rather passively, and this is a good stonewall for black because he already has a grip on e4.
Yeah. So Queen f6 is interesting though, putting pressure there, maybe to carry on ganging up on e5 soon.
Well, it's unusual. I mean, knight f6 will be more normal.
But I think it's got some advantage that you want to sort of maybe force f4 from White. So knight d7, now f4.
White's going to play f4 anyway, I think.
Yeah. Now black immediately takes and puts the queen on f7. Okay. So if the castle's actually now the queen goes back to c7. So maybe black's wasted a few queen moves here. On queen c7 though, there's another logical idea, you know, to support c5 maybe. Undermining the centre.
Black needs to get developed first. Look White way ahead in development.
Yeah.
And White can play c4 here, for example.
Yeah, he does actually. He does play c4. So knight h6, holding up the thought of f5 just in case maybe against this.
And now if I was White, I would take.
Yeah.
And then black has to
take with.
If he takes the c pawn, then White can get to the c file first.
Yeah. But that's probably why knight h6, just to hold up f5. So b3. And now this is like a modern idea, isn't it, that they're using in 1907. Just exchange off. You do that in the Dutch stone. We'll try and play for bishop a3. Get off these dark square bishops to weaken the dark squares. So he does play a4. It's kind of modern approach, isn't it, against the stone wall.
It's thematic.
It's thematic.
But it does weaken the b4 square.
Yeah, that b4 square. But can black really exploit that? Is that exploitable weakness?
Yes.
Okay, White takes on d5 now and then plays bishop a3. But don't be biased by the result of the game. I think that's an easy mistake for any
I'm not biased by the fact that I played the stone wall and I've exploited the b4 square on many occasions.
Okay. So rook takes a3. So black castles. So rook a2. So you think black's doing absolutely fine here, yeah?
I think so.
Yeah. So rook a8, that control of the c file counts more than what White just strategically did. So queen b6. So using pieces to pressure White's structure. No use of pawn moves just yet. So White offers a trade of rooks, which is accepted, and now black's back on the c file case. Okay, so bishop d3. Now queen b4. So queen b4 has sort of unblocked the b pawn, and black is going to try and smash White's structure, isn't it, and try and get control of b5 later.
Well, it's not clear what black can do, but White's on the defensive. I can't see any. White could try h3 and g4, but that looks very risky.
But I think that's similar to what he did do. So h3, So rook b1. Was there an immediate threat there? After why did he play rook b1? I wonder.
Well, then he can move his knight.
Right. Oh, okay. So rook c3, king h2. After a6, so black is playing for b5, which seems to be a logical strike to try and weaken white's structure.
Well, if he can eliminate his bad bishop for white's bishop on d3, then e3 will be weak as well.
Yeah. Yeah, this e3 is a continual target behind the scenes. You just get a trade here. So queen a3, now queen b2, invasive queen. Now knight d8, and the knight, is heading to that maybe b4 square, that critical b4 square.
This queen on b2 reminds me of this recent game in the British Championship, Short against Hawkins, where Short invaded on b2 with his king, actually, in the end, I believe.
So queen's evicted back, and now queen b4. Yes, this kind of continuous pressure, but now b5. So, and now white tries to do something on the king's side. He has to do something.
Well, white's in trouble because he's going to lose a pawn on a4.
Yeah, he can't really. He can't take now because the bishop takes, and black's just massacring on that diagonal. So g4, and now black allows. We're starting to see the scenario of the quadruple pawns emerging, because we're going to get treble pawns soon. After takes, g takes. This g pawn's travelling now to the e file pretty soon. Bishop b5, and that's pretty desperate for white. Now Alexander's banking on the dynamism of these pawns, the squares around here, but it's not enough. It's not enough time.
He's got another move here, queen h5.
Queen h5?
No, because queen's defending f8, so not queen h5. That's no good.
All right, you would say just bishop takes the rook.
Yeah, it's no good because the queen's defending.
Let's just engine check, because I'm not sure anyone else is going to visit this game for a while. Let's just make sure there was no resources for white. It seems technically that lacking. Okay, so white does seem to be downhill. Knight c4, and now rook takes b3, and it is getting to be just losing material for white. But he's got the treble pawns now, so that's the interesting point about the game, the treble pawns, and it's going to be quadruple pawns somehow pretty soon after munching there. And now b1 is offered, so Alexander's left with very interesting pawns. So e7, if he can just get in time queen f8, that would be the end of the game. Queen f8 would be mate, but unfortunately for him, knight e6 covering f8, and now d5 trying to chase away the defender, but again unfortunately he's just one move away really. Queen g6, and it comes to an ideal blockading point, this e8. That's the idea. Queen g6, it might not be the most technically correct move, but it's a very logical move, just to get to the blockading square.
I think it's the most technically correct move. It's the only move.
No, I thought I saw just briefly. No,
I mean queen e8. Rather.
Oh, sorry, no. But here, queen g6 wasn't apparently check, or queen b4 would also. They would be very strong moves. Okay, but queen g6 here. Now it's important to blockade. Now we have the quadruple pawn scenario, so this is an extremely rare scenario.
And white's threatening mate in 1, of course.
Yeah, with queen f8. So queen e8, and unfortunately Alexander with his quadruple pawns, they're not too functional here. I was a bit fortunate with the quadruple pawns to have some sort of kingside attack, and they were quite supportive. But here, the rowers, the rowing boat rowers, are not particularly that effective here. I called them a rowboat. That was quite a funny thing.
Right,
I thought.
okay.
Like rowers,
Yes.
Okay, so queen d5. But unfortunately here, the bishop's supported already, doesn't need to move the bishop, just makes some space for his king. And queen d8 also harms because the bishop's supporting the queen. So queen c5, and now the queen is just decoyed, isn't it, with c3,
yes.
just to win the first
giving up a
rower.
Pawn, and now
and now that e6 is going to drop pretty soon. There's another decoy available anyway, this a pawn if needed, but check was thrown in. And then that was taken, and then finally Alexander resigned. But okay, I thought it was an interesting early game of Alexander. So from an evolution of style perspective, okay, we can say chess itself was evolving from, like, you know, the world champions and you know how the Soviets, but each player individually had their own evolution. Not many players landed as being geniuses straight off the bat. I think Capablanca was one of the rare cases, but wasn't that also Sultan Khan? He was a genius. I don't remember him being that weak. He just won the British Championship many times. Maybe we should.
Well, he came from the Punjab for about 3 or 4 years and became one of the world's top players. Then went back again.
Yeah, but there were some players that just came and they were good straight off the bat. But maybe Alexander, he had to go for a personal evolution of style, didn't he? Although he contributed to the general evolution of style, people study his games.
Well, no one is good straight off the bat. Everyone has to learn from the beginning.
But Kappa seemed to be straight off the bat very good. That's my point. You know, he beat Marshall in the first match when he came to the States.
Well, we have a very strong player before he played international tournaments.
Yeah.
But it's easy to do that the earlier you are in time.
All right, let's have a brief overview and summary. So that was an interesting game anyway for how to play the sort of stone wall setup. So not Miney taking on e5. Sometimes I don't like this in blitz because it is really, sometimes it's easy to play for white this sort of position.
No, okay. But what I was going to say was, talking about the evolution of style, it's an early example of stonewall strategy where the stonewall was quite a newish opening at that sort of time. And then it was, you know, white plays automatically, swaps off his bad bishop.
Yes.
But then black controls the weak b4 square and gets control of the c file.
Yeah. So it's the dynamic trump cards which trump the basic routines.
And it's quite an early example of that strategy.
Yeah, of a4. You do see this in modern, you know, games against Stonewall, this a4 and bishop a3, like Sparrow Short, because Short was a fan for a while of the Stonewall. But yeah, the c file pressure actually means something. But it means something because black's also got a structural plan to back up the c file pressure, namely this b5 plan. Because otherwise, what would black be doing on the queen side if it wasn't for the b5 plan? So I think that was a very good follow-up. And also, you can't afford to give white too much time to try and batter down, you know, the king side. So black's got to play actively on the queen side. Otherwise, he could have been in trouble on the king side.
I'm not sure. With a knight on h6, he's holding off g4.
Right.
And he can always switch back. He looks back to c8, queen back to e7.
But this does just increase the advantage. This b5. You know, I think it's forcibly winning material now. Okay, so I think that was cool. Yeah, that was very strongly played by black in a way, wasn't it? This guy was pretty good.
He was, but he never made it to the elite tournaments.
I wonder why that was then. Moscow champion several years. You'd wonder why he's not in the major tournaments. But anyway, comments or questions on YouTube. We'll put that in the Evolution Style series. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much.